What an incredible week for Tesla investors. It started with a $29 billion restricted stock award to Elon Musk, locking him in at Tesla for the future. Then over just 42 days, Tesla 4X'd its Robotaxi service area in Austin to 80 square miles, launched ride-hailing in California, and Elon promised over 100 vehicles are coming fast. And to top it off, a brand new FSD model with 10 extra parameters is dropping next month. Multiple stock overhangs are gone, and a setup for a major move higher is now in place. Let's break down what just happened and why it matters. We've got the bulls here with us today. We've got Tesla boomer mama, the queen, Alexandra Mertz, the power bull, Xander Sky, the froyo tycoon, the options bull, and Cern Basher, the bot bull. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, Herbert.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Herbert.
Okay, so the theme today is a lot of stock overhangs have been removed. Alexandra, you look like you're looking like you're really much better than when last time you wore an IKEA hat. Now you're dressed up. Are you feeling rich these days? Is that what's happening?
I'm not feeling rich, but I'm feeling in my 80s period. So I've got all this shoulder pad stuff, whatever. Ah. There you go. Dynasty is back. That's so funny. That was my period. That's where I was young and growing up and learning English with the TV on. Oh, thank you for the memories. That was crazy. I still have to work on my hairdo to get there, but on the way.
So are you feeling that things have changed? Is that why you're wearing that? Is it is the stock overhangs removed? Are you feeling better about where the stock is going to head up in the future?
I feel we're making good progress, and the whole setup is becoming more and more convincing. And I actually feel that institutional investors are starting to get it, because the expansion is actually quick. Yes, there are not many cars on the road yet, but there will be many cars on the road, because the only car maker who has the cars, any car, any Tesla, is obviously Tesla. So I feel optimistic on that side. I feel hyper optimistic that Elon is staying because of what happened on Monday. And if you allow me, Herbert, I want to go into detail in that. Shall I do that now? Is that the right moment? Perfect. Okay, thank you. So we had, let me just put it down into the right context.
The company and the product. I don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. I enjoy listening to bears.
We're looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
The longer term opportunity for Tesla is like no other company that I've ever seen.
So what happened Monday is really one for the history books. They were ultra smart. Before we get to this slide, let me explain a little bit how we came to the point we are. So in 2018, we had a compensation package, the one that got then put in question by Tonetta in Delaware. That compensation package had reached all these milestones, and at that moment, the dilution of shares took place. So all that package has been accounted for at lower stock prices, and the amount of shares have been prepared to be issued. Okay, so when that was put into question by Tonetta, up to now, all this package was in the freezer, and it's still in the freezer. We're waiting for the Delaware Supreme Court to either invalidate the Chancery Court or to validate it. We'll see what comes. But the issue is that they are stalling. We had expected this month to have the hearing, and we learned on Monday, as part of what Tesla published, that hearing is still not scheduled. So, but what it looks like, they are trying to be smart and schedule the hearing after the shareholder meeting, to not give any indication to Tesla where this is going before the shareholder meetings, or I don't know what, but they're trying to be smart in Delaware. So the window for Tesla to act or do anything was really closing. We heard now for a year that Elon really wants to get to 25% voting rights, not 25% money, meaning shares, but 25% voting rights. Currently, he's just short of 13%. I think it's 12.8. That's obviously far to go for 25%. And then you have all this package that's been sitting there in the freezer that would give him potentially 4%, so moving from 13 to about 17% if fully executed. So two of our board members, Robin Denholm and Kathleen Wilson-Thompson, formed the special committee in March, April, and that got announced in the 10Q end of April, beginning of this year. And they were looking for multiple solutions. One, what to do with these options that are in the freezer. I'm sorry, I'm speaking so figuratively about it, but I think that's a nice way to explain it. And then second, how can we build a new compensation plan for Elon? Because the combination of those two will bring him closer to 25. They may not get him all the way to 25 very quickly, but obviously that's the right direction. So what they did on Monday is they unfroze about a third of those options that are in the freezer from 2018. And allow Elon to purchase these in 2 years. Why in 2 years? Because they want to make sure he is here and motivated for 2 years. So it's really a deal, right? There is Elon having to execute, and then he can purchase them. He can purchase them at the share price that was originally in the 2018 package. So it really mirrors more or less the conditions of the 2018 package. You may ask, why 96 million shares? Well, 96 million shares because they did not have more available. What does that mean? In 2019, shareholders voted in the then shareholder meeting of 2019 to have a total of, I think it was 200 million shares available for incentives for Elon, board members, employees, whatsoever. And then every year they publish in the 10K how much of that is left. End of January, they published that 113 million was left. Since then, they've issued more. And so right now, 96 million were left. So what the board did is they took all the remaining already approved shares by shareholders, approved in 2019, to now allocate to Elon. So there was no new vote necessary. 96 million is about a third, so there are still more than 200 million available, but there is no equity incentive plan that's been voted on by shareholders to allow them to issue those. So as I said on Monday to you, Herbert, I do believe there are more tranches coming, maybe one, maybe two, but at the moment they issued what they could, okay? So there is no dilution. Let me just sum it up again. There is no dilution because these shares exist since 2018, 2022. There is no expense currently for Tesla. Why is there no expense currently for Tesla? Because, well, they have been expensed 2018 to 2022. And while we still believe that we will win in Delaware, there is no need to expense anything because once we win in Delaware, the current new package will just be compensated with the old package. And so there is no additional cost at that very moment for Tesla. If it becomes more probable that we lose, and then let's just be very clear, then we have one person to blame for the extra cost that is currently potentially happening, which is Chancellor McCormick. Because if we lose, she, in her wonderful prose, saying she is defending shareholders, she actually stuck it to us. She stuck to us that instead of having a relatively cheap package that's all accounted for and we don't have to pay anything, if it gets invalidated and we have to replace it, it's going to cost us 30, 40, 50, 60 times more. We went through all that last year when we read her verdict. But if I hear people now going, oh my God, this may in the end up with dilution. It's not dilution what it will cost us, but it may end up with an expense if we lose. But the fault for that is purely Chancellor McCormick. So at the moment, no dilution. At the moment, no expense. But now comes the genius of this all, because the way this was set up, it gives immediate voting rights to Elon. So while nobody has to pay anything, there is no expense, there is no nothing, Elon in 4 weeks gets 96 million more shares to vote on. So additionally to his current 400 and something million shares, he will have now 500 million shares to vote on. already in the shareholder meeting on November 6th. And so that is obviously really genius. Now, careful, because there is now a 30-day period between last Monday when they started and the moment that Elon will have the voting rights, where it has to go through the Department of Justice and the Trade Commission. They can veto this. I don't think they will, but who knows? So there is currently still a risk that this, goes through. But if it goes through, then he has 96 million more voting rights, albeit he has not paid for them, and albeit we didn't have any supplementary expense other than what we already expensed between 2018 and 2022. So all that to say, I'm sorry I'm so long, but it's really important, is that what will we vote on in November? We will vote on a new compensation plan for Elon. I'm calling it the 2025 new compensation plan. We're going to vote on a new equity incentive plan, meaning that is where we allow the board to issue equity to incentivize executives and employees. This one, we just emptied it by giving these 96 million to Elon. So there will be a new one, a new amount. We will certainly also, and that's just me interpreting, so I should probably put that certainly a little bit under my thoughts rather than having the certitude, on a new board remuneration plan. As we've discussed a couple of times now, Herbert, the board has not been paid since 2020. Now, under Texas rules, I think they're ready to propose a new remuneration plan, which is, how much does a board member get when they join the board? How much equity do they get for sitting in those committees? How much do they get annually? Is there a prime after 3 years, 5 years, whatever, right? All these things have to be detailed and then for us to vote on. We will, I think, very certainly vote on a potential XAI investment, because many of you followed our directives to write to Tesla and bring the elements to them so that this can be included. And we know already it's the moment where 3 of our 9 board members get reelected, because it rotates 3 every year, and then after 3 years, then it starts all over again. So this time it's Ira Ehrenpreis, Joe Gebbia, and Kathleen Wilson-Thompson. So those are the topics I'm certain about that we're going to vote on in November, with the little board remuneration being, my ad. Maybe that is, but I do believe it's going to come.
Alexandra, which of these items will Elon not be allowed to vote on?
He will not be allowed to vote on his own compensation plan. And I do believe he will not be allowed to vote on the XAI investment. I think he has to recuse himself of both of those. On the board remuneration, I am not sure. I'm not sure if, him as being a board member, he's allowed to vote. I have to go dig into those questions. But I think there must be topics on there where he's keen to have those 96 million new share votes.
That's what I was wondering. That's what I was getting at. I'm wondering if there's any other items that will come up for
Could
vote
well be.
where this is important for him to have those extra shares.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I think he's really happy with all 3 board members that are currently up for re-election. So his 96 million was going to make a difference for that. And it's just, there could be so much more. So let's just wait. I mean, every year I get very excited about the proxies, but I think I've never been looking forward more than this year. I think this is just going to be learning those milestones, because us Tesla investors, we know if those milestones are there, that's what he wants to do. That's where he thinks he can bring us, right? This will be very concrete. And being able to read it through, understand it, probably Master Plan 4 is going to come soon. Or 4, do I have to say 4? Part 4?
No, you don't do. It was only Master Plan 2, 3, 4.
3 was already 3, wasn't 3? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for going through all that. That was very important information. Quite a bit that you covered. It looks like setting up that this annual shareholder meeting is very important. You had quite a number of topics that's going to be addressed. We need to, as retail shareholders, show up and make sure that we can vote. This is really critical. You also made it sound like that it's very positive that at least 2 major stock overhangs have been removed. They're about to be removed. Is Elon staying at Tesla? Is there a path to dealing with this board, the 2018 lawsuit that's happened, is there a compensation resolution? Is that the way you would position it? That sounds like we're heading in the right direction.
I think the example I gave you on Monday still stands. When you're in these legal battles, especially this has been going on now for 6 years, right? You always feel like you're a little rabbit in a corner waiting for the courts to do something. And this is very, very unpleasant. So what I like about what happened on Monday is that Tesla's board has decided, because it was obviously first a special committee, then they brought it to the board where Elon and Kimball had to recuse themselves, and then the board unanimously voted for it. So Tesla's board said, enough. We're going to take action. And this was so well thought through because it gave these immediate voting rights. It would have just been, okay, in 2 years you can buy those shares at whatever, because we're setting up a plan B and we're starting now so that, we get you here for 2 years. And wait, we all know Elon is going to stay for more than 2 years. I don't think that's ever been a question, but now it's obviously formalized. But adding to it that the issuance of this plan immediately gives him access to the voting rights, that's a genius stroke. I don't know who of the two ladies came up with that, but that was it. That deserves any and everything.
Alexandra, you also mentioned earlier you had a response from Elon regarding that it's not like 8%, it's 4%. Can you explain that for us, please?
Yes. Assume we win in Delaware. The win in Delaware would correspond to 8% of shares for him to be able to purchase and then have voting rights on. But the problem is that at the moment where he can exercise those, it's a taxable event. And being now in Austin, he explained that it's about 45% taxes on it. So that would mean you sell these 8% shares, which is something like 300 million shares, and you have to pay taxes on them, 45%. And then for the 55% that are remaining, well, they are yours, and now you can vote with those. And so the 8%, these 300-something million shares, actually bring him only 4% more shares. So it will be about 150, 160 million rather than the 300 million.
And that's disconnected from these.
Yes,
96
that's
million
why.
shares.
That's why I just said that's what's
like an
so
advance.
genius about it, because the 96 are also a gross number, like the 300, but there's no taxable event now. The taxable event would be in 2 years, so he has voting rights today for 100% of those shares, and not of the 55% post-tax votes, right? So I don't know to what extent the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission are going to find this acceptable, because it is highly creative. We'll see. But it is, if this passes, and we'll know in 4 weeks, this is going to be a master stroke.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Alexandra. That was great. Those were the two big stock overhangs, but there's more, right? Is Robotaxi expanding in Austin? Is Robotaxi expanding in California? Is FSD getting better? Cern, we haven't heard from you. Are you feeling better that a number of stock overhangs are being addressed?
Yes and no. Certainly on the compensation side, I think it's encouraging. And I also think that just quickly on that, the 2-year vesting may give us some clue that Tesla thinks this Delaware court situation might be wrapped up in a couple of years. I'm speculating on that, but who knows? Probably not. It'll probably be another 6 years by the time we're done with Delaware. But just on Robotaxi progress, it's encouraging that they're able to, expand the geofenced area fairly easily, fairly quickly. They're showing that. That's great. The big thing for me now is more vehicles, but I'm more interested in more vehicles that don't have safety monitors. I'm waiting for that. I'm patiently waiting for that. I'm not putting any pressure on Tesla to pull out the safety monitor before they feel comfortable to do so. It's far more important to roll this out safely. And so whatever the issues are that they're working on, until they feel comfortable doing that, I'm fine with that. But then once that safety driver is pulled out, safety monitor is pulled out, and safety driver, I guess, in California, then I think I'm very interested to see the ramp, and I want it to ramp very quickly after that point. But until then, I'm patiently waiting for things to develop.
Here are the things that Elon announced just this week. These are very big announcements. First, he said Tesla's training a new FSD model with 10x the parameters, big improvement to video compression loss, probably ready for public release end of next month if testing goes well. This is going to like leapfrog, right? Because we were waiting for the Robotaxi version, an Austin version. We were waiting for the 4x parameter increase, but here we're going straight to a 10x parameter increase next month. So that is a good sign that this FSD model is going to be really good. He said, we're working as quickly as possible to get 100 plus Teslas operating for autonomous ride hailing in the Bay Area and allow anyone to request a ride. He calls it autonomous ride hailing because he can't say taxi or cab. And then he said, Tesla's training a new app. Yeah, we just covered that. And then Robert Scoble explained, well, if it's a 10x bigger model in 2 months, what does that mean? It's everything from being able to identify potholes, driving in parking lots better, being able to do pickups and drop-offs at robotaxis, better path planner, avoiding anomalies better, first responders, driving around traffic and around a wreck, smoother and more confident. It can drive faster. It will handle high chaos situations, crowds of drunken pedestrians and so forth. Elon replied to him saying, minimizing probability of injury is the goal, but we will also address these other factors, the things he just listed, if not entirely in this build, then shortly thereafter. All of this is very good signs. Yeah, we haven't heard from you, Xander. What's your thinking about this?
Yeah, I love seeing that FSD is the focus, from Elon and I like my experience with FSD has been phenomenal, and then the Robotaxi rides. Uh, I didn't do the California ones, but because that just feels too similar to what we experience every day. But the progress in getting those speed bumps and like that toll booth incident that we just had, where it paused and it waited for the transaction to be concluded. That is real world AI to me. And when I think about uh, like FSD growing beyond just the robotaxi and maybe other manufacturers picking this up and getting regulators to encourage other manufacturers to keep it like seat belts and airbags and pushing it in that regard, because safety is the number one thing. I just see cameras and the computer being coming down down the pipe there to all these other manufacturers, and FSD expanding like that.
Yeah. So it's the real world AI that you're looking forward to. What do you guys think then about the rollout strategy that's becoming very clear at this point, right? So it looks like this is what Tesla's doing. They're doing small number of cars, just a handful, 10 cars, maybe 20. At this point, we think it's just a little bit over 10. But they're now in Austin, and they've expanded the geography. They're now in California. Now, because of rules, they have to have a safety driver there. That's fine. They're going to put 100 safety drivers there to get that, to get the first 55,000 miles under the belt. But it looks like that they will do this. They'll expand the geography, but not yet grow the number of cars or invites. And then maybe they'll flip on no drivers, but again, I bet it would still be a small handful of cars. That could be their strategy. And only once they've got that in place would then they expand. Do you guys think that that's a right strategy?
Well, just real quickly, Herbert, that exchange, I think, between Robert Scoble and Elon actually told us a lot. Because Robert was talking about all the different things that it could do, and Elon came back and said, well, safety is our priority. So that's telling me that the current build isn't where Elon and Tesla wants it to be as far as being as safe as it could possibly be. Right? We've experienced it. It's amazing. It's awesome. But they want it to be even better than what we've experienced. So they're waiting for this new build. But Elon even hedged in his reply, or shortly thereafter, right? So maybe it's the next one after that, or some interim period where they can make some changes to the model. So to me, that's interesting. I mean, it's favorable that they're skipping the 4x parameters, going to the 10. That's great, and maybe they can leapfrog some of these issues in a shorter period of time. So I find that very encouraging. from a strategy perspective, in terms of rolling out the service, in my mind, ideally, if you can get approval for it, you introduce it in as many markets as you can, right? And then you scale it when you're comfortable with the safety profile of what you're offering. If you're not able to go into those different markets because of regulatory, they're not, if certain regulations or regulatory bodies are not approving it, then they have a backup strategy. And we've talked about it before. I call that the dominate Texas, strategy. But again, that doesn't work until you are happy with the safety profile of FSD, and you are, 10x safer than a human, or whatever the parameter is on that.
Yeah, that 10x parameter though, it's mind blowing that this is what he's promising is going to be releasing by the end of next month. This is 10x parameters does not mean it's 10x more features or 10x more safer, but it's still a good sign that it's a magnitude increase in what we're seeing. It's going to get better in safety and these features. I mean, we're already that good that it's good enough that it can be done in Austin, Robotaxi launch. And many of us, the three of us, except for you, Alexandra, we were all there. You were there in spirit. You were there in spirit with us. But we were physically in those cars being driven around by Robotaxi. It's good enough for that. And this is even 10x better. So this is, I think, and in 42 days, this is just 42 days. Now we're going to wait another, 2 more months. This is moving very fast for me. Cern, when I said that Robotaxi expansion is, being, I can't remember the word I used, supercharged, you said, no, I wouldn't use that word. Why do you think that way? I mean, this is still a sort of almost a private trial. I mean, we're not Tesla employees. There's only been a few invites, right? It's just to a select group of people. So to me, it gets supercharged when it's public and they're aggressively adding vehicles to the fleet. And we haven't seen that yet. Right, but they're doing the things now that you would want them to. They're going into other markets. They're hiring people. They're expanding the geofenced area. We see the other vehicles, the validation vehicles, driving all over the place. So it's very clear that they're going to be expanding these geofence zones as quickly as possible. But at the end of the day, this is still in a test phase, and it seems clear to me that they're waiting for this next version of FSD. Because when you think about it, FSD right now has a certain profile. They have a certain expectation, perhaps, for the number of accidents or incidents per million miles, right? And they probably want to get that to a certain number, and maybe it's not quite there yet. And so you wait for the development of the next model, and you see if that gets you to that point, and hopefully beyond. And as you scale up, because you're at a certain ratio of accidents or incidents per million miles, the more people you have in those vehicles and driving, the more accidents you're going to have, even though that accident rate is coming down. Right? Herbert and you and I did a show about this, right? That for a small fleet, you will have very few number of accidents. But even if you improve or lower that accident rate, if you scale up to millions of vehicles, you're going to have so many accidents to deal with, even when it's 100 times safer than a human, just because of the sheer volume of miles that you're driving. And so Tesla has to make sure that they can manage those kinds of issues. So I think we're going to end up with a robotaxi service that is super, super safe and minimizes the legal risk for Tesla, because the accidents will be few and far between. Yeah, it needs to get to, that could be the 10x parameter one, could be the unsupervised version of FSD. So I was going to not agree with you, but then I saw, obviously rereading what Elon said here, minimizing probability of injury is the goal, right? Because like today, Robotaxi is in Austin, and we only are aware of one incident. This is the data from City of Austin themselves. So there has, knock on wood, not been any injury. So at this point, you could say that the reason why they haven't expanded yet in terms of number of cars is because of, not because of injury, but because of, back end things that they can work on. But because he said this, maybe they just want to be even that much safer.
In my mind, this is what matters. You've got to make sure the probability of injury is down to some level where you say, okay, we can deal with the consequences at this level, even as we scale.
It could also be that this 10x parameter is coming by the end of next month. So why rush anything? Just wait it out until that's there. And then the other point I want to ask you guys is, if this 10x parameter is coming in next month to the public, they are using it now, aren't they?
Could be.
Yeah. And the one thing I also want to add to all this is it's all good that they are prudent. And I prefer they're going slow and whatever. But at one point, you also have to say this technology saves life. And if you need to be at 100%, you're not saving lives, right? So at one point, you have to take the educated decision that now is good enough. And it will not be perfect. It will not be perfect. There will be issues. Let's hope they're not fatal, and let's hope they're as few as possible. But at one point, you have to put this technology to work to the masses. And that may be the point, Cern, where you may be right, that we then need to educate the masses, right? We don't both agree on that point, but that, if we all wait for the ultimate 100%, we're going to wait forever. So there has to be something reasonable in between.
In the live stream I did yesterday, Nick Gibbs was pretty passionate saying that. He says that FSD is at the point today that Tesla needs to start to go big, explaining, pushing it as fast as possible, because the longer you wait to get people to use it, the more people, you're not saving as many lives.
Now it's too early. Now it's too early.
Okay, that's the question. Now, he thinks it's now. And remember at the last earnings call, Elon said that, only 50% of Tesla owners are using FSD, but we're going to work on expanding it, which means that there's no other reason why they're not expanding it except that they just haven't come up with ideas or they haven't really pushed hard. Why would you say it's too early when he himself said we're going to work on expanding it from the 50% to higher?
I don't feel particularly educated to reply to that question, but what is important to me is that we're not waiting too long and that we're educating when we have sufficient coverage. Why we're only having coverage in Austin, where everybody knows Tesla, and in the Bay Area, where everybody knows Tesla, I don't think there is a point going to the masses with these two markets. I think we have to be at a certain coverage, and that may be the reason why he mentioned that half of the US population will be covered by a year end. So maybe that is the point where you want to educate. Now, I think there's education and education. I've learned over the years to not like advertising, because who is benefiting from advertising? Of course, the people who are listening to it, but in the meantime, it's the media, classic media, that is going to carry the message. And I'm not sure that we really need them. I would feel a little bit defeated if now suddenly we would have to pay for classic media, mainstream media, to carry our message and become more incentivized, I think is the politically correct word.
I think we're crossing over two different issues here. So again, Nick's not here to, make his case. I'll try to make it for him. Although Nick did an incredible job, I think yesterday, Herbert, of doing that on his own behalf. In my mind, we're talking about supervised FSD that's available to you and I and everybody in our cars now. And factually, it's correct. It makes humans better drivers, safer drivers. Tesla has the data for this. They've shared it with us quarterly now for years. So Nick's point is that if you've got a technology that makes human drivers safer, then you should be educating the public about the benefits of that. I completely agree with him. I think Nick is spot on. Now, Alexandra, I think what you're saying is that FSD in Robotaxi isn't ready yet for the educational process that needs to happen there. I agree with you. It's too early for that. But I do think Nick's point about singing the praises of FSD and what that does for older people and making them more confident drivers. And Nick had a whole bunch of examples, and I thought they were brilliant. I think Tesla is missing an opportunity. They admitted as much on the conference call. And I think a lot of us are kind of frustrated that they kind of, pretended like they were surprised that half of the people haven't used FSD that have FSD capable vehicles. Well, shame on them. This is an easy fix for Tesla to take care of. Call it educating instead of advertising. Call it what you want. I don't care. the fact remains is people are not aware of this life-saving technology. Okay, so Tesla, educate. Don't advertise, educate. If advertising is such a divisive word, if we don't want to support the mainstream media because we think they should die, fine. Let's do an education program instead of an advertising program.
Yeah, my mother, while they were in town, once my dad drove the Cybertruck, and they were watching the kids while we went out of town. She wouldn't allow him to drive because FSD would do a better job than him. And this is like not normal that she would trust a machine to do this. She's never experienced FSD except being in the back, but this is, she's in the front and he's driving, and she's like, put on FSD. It does it's a better, smoother, and safer experience for her. So she doesn't keep looking for the handle that doesn't exist.
This is what Nick said. He posted this as, it's been a few weeks since Tesla, he put shareholder meeting. He meant to say the earnings meeting. Haven't seen any attempt by the company to move the needle on FSD awareness, because remember, Elon said, we're going to try to do something on it. It's been a couple of weeks, nothing happened. More of the same. Either someone needs to be fired or someone needs to be hired. And then Sawyer Merritt said, Tesla has instituted some changes since the earnings call to address the FSD awareness issue. They just haven't posted about it. So he seems to know something. That's weird.
We're increasing awareness by not making everybody aware.
Yeah.
No, I think this is a little bit like, I think Sawyer sometimes has information either directly or indirectly from Tesla that they're working on things, and this may be one of those topics. Again, as we said earlier, we may not be on the same topic. Is it about just what FSD is all about, or is it about robotaxis? We'll see, but I think they're working on it. I think they're working on a couple of other topics as well, on which we've been screaming, all of us, including quality of earnings calls and whatnot. It just always takes a bit of time, because these are not, and I understand. I want Tesla to be concentrated on getting those computers on wheels to the best state they can, and this is all side projects.
So advertising, do you want to talk about that at this point?
Yeah, I think we agreed actually there, because Cern just admitted it doesn't have to be advertising, it can just be education, right? Didn't you just admit to that? So I won this one, Cern, can we say that?
You always win, Alexandra, but maybe if I can just have a couple of minutes to kind of share my thinking behind this, and I wrote a post about this week. There's advertising that you do to try to convince people to buy your product, or even make them aware of the existence of your product, right? And it might be product specific, or in the case of Coca-Cola, it's just brand advertising, right? But then in my mind, one of the issues that Tesla has faced is this persistent headwind of the media constantly putting out negative information about the company. Now, you can fight that in two ways. You can fight that by the way that Elon has fought it currently, by attacking them, by ignoring them, by not funding them. In Elon's case, he bought Twitter. Now he has his own media empire. So that's one way. Fine. And I think most Tesla shareholders are kind of on board with that way, because we're all frustrated with the media. We hate how the media, legacy media, portrays our company. I'm with you. I hear you. I agree. But I don't think that the legacy media is going away. And might it not be better to have a strategy like Sun Tzu in The Art of War, right, to try to bring them to your side? You don't have to win every battle to be successful, but maybe there's some battles that you don't need to fight. And I love Elon. He likes to fight every battle comes his way. Incredible. I don't know how he does it. But maybe this is one where we don't really have to fight it as hard as we're fighting it. And so I'm kind of gently putting out the idea that you advertise not for the purpose of selling more cars, although that would be a benefit, but you advertise to bring the media to your side, or some portion of the media to your side, so there's not this persistent headwind on everything that Tesla does. Look at the sales numbers in Germany, right? What's going on there? Well, it's brand damage at this point. It's brand damage. It's an unforced error. Now, Elon, in his heart of heart, from the political views, I have no problem with that. I'm not saying he needs to muzzle himself and not be political. I'm just saying that from a company perspective, there might be an opportunity to bring some of these people more to your side. Because there's plenty of people out there that see the merits of Tesla from an environmental impact point of view. There's plenty of people out there that would see the merits of Tesla from a cost savings perspective. In the US, plenty of people that see Tesla as an American company, one of the most American companies there is, the only auto company that makes its cars in the US. So, sorry, not the only auto company that makes cars in the US, but the most foreign content percentage is a more precise way of saying it. Sorry, domestic content, slipping up every corner here. Anyway, that's kind of my case for why Tesla should consider some kind of olive branch to some portions of the media that is able to perhaps come to Tesla's side. I'm not suggesting that we, bribe them and that we pay go to the dark side and, just pay them the money to shut up. I'm not suggesting that at all, but maybe we just don't need to fight that battle as hard as we've been fighting it.
Do you think the expansion of Robotaxi, when it comes, and if it's coming, next year, where it actually goes to market, will that sell so many Teslas and repair some of this damage? Do you really need the media to do that if it's just like almost here?
I'm worried that the media is going to put out such a FUD campaign about how dangerous robotaxis are or some other crazy thing that the public is just fearful of even trying it. Now, over time, I think that it'll be fine. It'll win out because the experience is so amazing and people will save money and it will win. But why do we have to fight that headwind all the time, right? Maybe we can find some people in the media that you can bring to your side and you reduce the headwind, or at least so the media has, the pros and cons presented, not just one side all the time, right? And I'm not saying you go to the New York Times and you make them your buddies, but maybe there's some portion of the legacy media out there that is open to it. Because I think they feel threatened. Not only are the companies that are advertising with them under attack by Tesla, but the legacy media companies themselves are under attack by Elon and X. They're behaving quite rationally, in my opinion. We don't like it, but it's a rational response to the threat that they feel.
I've been predicting, and I am on the side that Tesla should advertise and will advertise. And I know a lot of Tesla investors are thinking that that's against Tesla's, belief. That's not what I read. So what I understand, Elon, is that he believes that there's the right way to advertise, and that previously he said there's no point in advertising if people can't afford the cars. Mm-hmm. And so the argument before was you had a bunch of people going, Tesla should advertise in lieu of cutting the price of the car, 20% cut. Oh, the 20% cut did not make a difference. No, they needed to do that because people were stopping buying cars because they could not afford it during the COVID years and things changed. Now they are about to release the more affordable vehicle. When that comes out and they have really affordable prices and you have a huge TAM of people who don't know that Tesla exists, don't know the prices are low, I bet you Tesla will advertise now because people can now afford it. That's number one. And two, with FSD, as we're talking about, I think they will as well. And then the benefit you're talking about, Cern. So I'm on the side that I'm gonna, I'm there thinking that they will actually now change their mind and start to advertise.
Can I interrupt you? Did you see that message that I just sent? Okay.
Yeah. So let's do that. Yeah. This is breaking news, I guess. It's we're recording this on Thursday afternoon. This show will publish on Friday morning. And it looks like that Tesla's disbanded, according to Bloomberg, so we don't know if this is real, is their Dojo supercomputer team in blow to AI effort. Looks like that Pete Bannon, who's heading up Dojo, is leaving. And Elon has ordered the effort to be shut down. Maybe that kind of explains why Elon said that the Dojo and AI teams are going to be, and the chips are going to be consolidated together. The team lost 20 workers, right? Because that new company that was announced this morning, Density AI, these are Dojo executives, Dojo experts that they decided to form their own company, Density AI. And it says Tesla plans to rely on external technology partners, NVIDIA, AMD, Samsung. I think we heard today too that Intel is going to be one of the partners to support these chips. So, what do you guys think? Is this a blow or is it,
I mean, obviously, I think it was event driven, meaning people left. Peter couldn't keep them within Tesla. They wanted to leave. Many of them left. They set up this Density AI project. And I think this is the consequence and the decision that Elon took. Now, I just want to go back. I did a couple of, it's nearly 16 months ago. I did in January 2024 a long thread about when we first heard about Dojo. So the first mention was on Autonomy Investor Day in April 2019, where he presented Dojo. Then it came up regularly in earnings calls, one in January 21, one in April 21, and it just keeps on going, all this. And he always reiterated it was a low probability of success, but it was a real joker if it would succeed. There's also a couple of mentions in earnings calls from Lars, because they felt it was the tool that would give them superiority in terms of capacities. And it just went on all the time. I'm scrolling through 2022, 2023, very clearly saying this is a high risk, low probability turnout, but we're working on it. We then simultaneously saw the team building up, lots of job offers through 2023, and that then slowed down. So I think they had their chance. They felt obviously that they could do this outside of Tesla in a better way. They may actually become, in some way or form and shape, providers of services to Tesla. But at the moment, Tesla obviously is relying on NVIDIA, mainly NVIDIA, Samsung, Intel, AMD, which are reliable sources. There is no doubt about it. It most probably increases the strength of NVIDIA. I think there's no doubt in my mind. But it also refocuses Tesla on its core business and what they do best, right? And so it was probably worth the try over the last 6 years, and that's the end of that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it was a talent drain, right? There was 20 people that left to form Density AI. So it looks like they're about to come out to stealth soon. They're going to provide chips, hardware, and software that will power data centers for AI that are using robotics, AI agents, and autonomous and auto. Founded by Ganesh Venkataraman, Bill Chang, and Ben Floring. And this is an exodus of key talent that left. This is in addition to the other people. But at the same time, do you think this has anything to do with the announcement of the partnership with Samsung that's next door, and they're going to use their chips?
I mean, it's probably all brewing, but the need of Tesla is enormous. And Dojo could have played a major part in this. Yeah. But, I mean, Samsung has to now perform. Tesla can still purchase from TSLA. They're obviously purchasing from NVIDIA, whatever they can. We have commented many times how much foresight Elon always has in these purchases, how early he is, how well he negotiates these deals. Because when you see the CapEx and R&D expenditures of Tesla compared to other mega caps in the same field, it's just so much. I call it always lean and mean. But that didn't stop them from trying by themselves. I think it would have been wonderful if it worked out, because, I mean, it would have been just, one of those typical Tesla cost-effective and vertical integration projects that are having huge returns. But at one point, I mean, if you're losing more than half the team and have the feeling that, this is going, you can't, in this current environment where everybody's searching for the same competences worldwide, where huge bonuses are paid to people moving in the AI field or in the energy field or in the chip field, just because that's where the needs currently are. You can't have half a team leave and recruit them, and not the Tesla way. Tesla doesn't like to recruit people at the top of the pay scale. They like to bring up people. They like to educate people. They like to foster teamwork rather than bringing in stars. And I sometimes compare this. It's actually funny because we had this discussion yesterday evening at home with soccer teams of my European friends' football teams. In my family, we're very passionate about soccer, right? And there are a couple of teams that I cannot stand. One of them is Paris Saint-Germain from Paris, because they have this arrogant attitude of always purchasing, no matter the price, the stars, right? They have the money of the Emirates behind them, and they can just do it. The same money that is having some of the Spanish clubs. So I always feel that Paris doesn't have, a teamwork team. They have a collection of stars, and then they all have their fits because nobody is looking after them the way they think they deserve it. Everybody wants to be the queen, and that is certainly not the Tesla way. They are not recruiting now, going out and finding the most expensive in their field to bring them here. And so the decision had to be taken to stop this. May not be gone forever, but at the moment, I think this is a clear tendency of not having any rumors around that they may recruit or continue. This is, at least for the moment, oh, here I come back in the freezer. And so we'll see whether they will ever get it out of the freezer again, or whether this is definitely gone.
Didn't we hear last week, that AI6 could be scaled up basically to a supercomputer, like basically like what NVIDIA does with their chips?
Yeah. Yes, we
Right.
did.
So did the progress on that eliminate the need really to generate their own Dojo
that's
chip?
what we're asking, right? Which came first? But I do think that sounds like the 20 top executives this left. But the good news is that, as Alexandra is saying, Elon wasn't left holding the bag here. He had things happening. Things like a partnership with Samsung doesn't happen over like a week or months. He, doesn't feel like that there was this, we're in big trouble. Do you guys think that tomorrow, this is going to be published on Friday morning, that this will be a big hit on Tesla stock or Tesla's business? Or do you think people will go, yeah, they've already explained that they have a partnership with Samsung. They've got plan Bs that's going to just take over this anyways?
Well, in my mind, there's a big difference between securing supply of chips, which is absolutely critical, versus, making your own that may or may not be better than competition.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice. We all talked about how it'd be nice to save, NVIDIA's 70% gross margins.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? At the end of the day, that really doesn't matter that much. That's not going to be the key to Tesla's success. The key is getting their hands on as many of those chips and systems as they can, hooking them up as quickly as they can, and running these new models.
I think you'll just have a short-term algo reaction. You're already seeing it after hours, where it's an immediate dive, but it's already getting bought up. So it's, I imagine, if you digest the information that you're hearing, Cern's explanation is spot on. I think you'll just have, continued oscillating until we have a big catalyst. But the things that you guys discussed with, things being lifted, overhangs being lifted, that's the important thing. And once you have this next FOMO wave, you'll see upgrades, and that's what it'll fly. But initially, there's always a options at play here.
Okay. Trick question for you guys. What do you think is the most important milestone that could happen before the end of this year?
Taking up the safety monitors.
Optimus.
Don't make me dream, Xander. Don't make me dream.
I think Optimus has been pushed a little bit. I wouldn't expect anything for that. And if it didn't happen, I don't think that's going to change anything. I think my answer would be this, which is unsupervised
Gaming.
FSD. No. So this guy asked the question.
That has been announced. The last earnings call clearly said by the year end we should be there.
Yeah. So if it happens, what a major thing that would hit. So this guy said, when can I do this? And Elon replied saying, which is playing a game, right? And the car's driving me, but I'm allowed to be playing my game. And Elon replied saying, probably 3 to 6 months, depending on regulatory approval in your city and state. So 3 to 6 months should happen by the end of this year. I think if that happens, unsupervised FSD, even if it's just in California or a certain area, this is another, just like you said, removing a safety driver from a Robotaxi program, but also allowing an FSD user to be able to do it hands, like go to sleep, play a game, do whatever. That is signal.
Well, isn't there a stopgap between, like, because if he's in the front seat and he's ready to take over if the car alerts, put down the controller within a second or two, um, that's not the same as sleeping, right? Isn't that like level 4, level 5?
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be little, like, they're going to reduce the nags. They're going to reduce the nags. But you bring up a good point, which is, which country was it? Croatia, I think. They passed something that's going to go in effect by 2026. And they clearly laid out the legalities, which is exactly what you said, Alexander, which is if an accident happens and the FSD vendor, the vendors providing the ADAS saying that it's unsupervised, if they are in charge and they're running it, then that vendor's responsible. They have to pay for it. But if they announced it like some sort of big, some sort of like a audible warning sign, if you were alerted by the robotaxi vendor and you don't take over, then you're responsible for it. So, right, just like you said. So we're waiting for two things, right, by the end of this year. Removal of a safety driver and unsupervised FSD. So if the removal of a safety driver happens, but it's only with, let's say, just Austin, just 10 cars, still a big deal, Cern?
Well, at that point, once you take out the safety driver, there's no reason not to scale. To me, that's the signal that the scaling is about to happen or can happen. I don't really see a scenario where you can take out the safety driver, but you wouldn't be ready to scale the service. I don't know if anybody can think of any reason why you'd not scale at that point. So I think that would be a clear signal to the market that scaling is about to happen.
I agree.
And then certainly reducing the nag or making unsupervised or some flavor of unsupervised FSD, distracted FSD, whatever you want to call it, available to customer cars would be a pretty awesome milestone as well.
Okay. Let's go through some quick fire questions. Start with you, Alexandra. What is the biggest risk to Tesla today?
I still think Elon staying alive is what we may need to make sure happens. I mean, losing Elon would really be a big blow. As you can see, the board completely agrees because the way they presented to us Monday, what they're doing with the 2018 Tornetta package clearly shows they want Elon on board as long and as happy as possible.
Yeah,
Anybody else have different answers?
Yeah, lawfare. I think all of this, these cases, just even with Elon's comp package, just judges making these decisions which actually hurt shareholders and allowing that to occur is that to be the biggest risk that if this continues.
And you're actually right. I mean, I don't think it's as big a risk as losing Elon's life, but there's still 3 law cases pending in Delaware. We'll see actually in one of them, Tesla is filed today that they think it shouldn't be judged in Delaware because it was filed end of May last year, and we moved 2 weeks later to Texas. But if those cases are judged in Delaware, which will take a lot of time, and then who knows what comes out of them, that is a risk to Tesla. I mean, it's not a risk that we have to worry today about because it takes a lot of time. But if they are judged favorably to Tesla, that is a risk. I agree.
I have a different one, and it's not the biggest risk in the sense of most likely, but it's the biggest risk in terms of to the company, and that would be the cancellation of Optimus program.
Ooh. Why would they cancel it?
That's where 80+% of the future value is.
I agree, but I don't think that risk is realistic.
It's a tiny risk in my opinion, but it would be the biggest impact.
Yeah, they canceled Dojo, right? So unlikely, right? What about some sort of derailing?
Let's just make that point. Dojo was never critical to Tesla the way that Optimus is critical to Tesla. Let's just make that very, very clear.
Yeah,
agreed. And he always
Dojo was
gave
nice
it a very,
to have and could have had a huge multiplier, but not at any cost. While Optimus is a major milestone and component of Tesla's value.
Yeah, I think Cern, you make a good point in that that's like the biggest financial impact because, like you said, the value. But FSD getting so close to the touchdown with unsupervised, that's what enables Optimus to scale. It's not the building and robotics involved. It's really just the brain, and we're seeing that brain come alive.
They're making great progress on that for sure. Yep.
Where does derailment of Robotaxi fit in?
When you say derailment, what do you mean? Like not getting regulatory approval, customer
Something
acceptance?
happens from now to the end of this year, and a person, what happened to Cruise? What happened to Uber? Uber's Robotaxi thing, right? They had a person supervise FSD, but it killed the person, and that shut that program down. Now, it was a different time. It was too early. It was very early when they were still testing it. But could something like that derail the plans for this year? Now, all of a sudden, they have to slow down. They have to cut back their growth plans. They have to start basically from small areas again.
It could, and I think that's why we're seeing them be ultra cautious today.
Yeah.
Now, Cruise, I think, dug their own grave because I think they attempted a bit of a cover up in what they did.
Yes. Yeah. It dragged a person, and then they covered it up, and they tried not to.
Yes,
kill
but it
the
didn't
person.
kill it. No, did not kill
Okay.
it. Dragged the
Yeah.
person and injured the person, but did not kill it. But the issue was that they covered it up and weren't transparent about it. So I don't think that is, Tesla's issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, I think that the technology is much better than anything Cruise had ever put on the road. But things may happen. Cruise also had very little successful miles compared to issue miles, right? That's not an issue that Tesla has. But like I said earlier, there will be setbacks with such a technology.
Mm-hmm.
There will be edge cases. Yeah. If we wait for it to be 100% perfect, we'll wait forever. That's not going to happen. We have to get to a comfort level where we're all comfortable with it, but it won't be perfect. So we have also, with our investment, we have to consider that there will be moments where there may be bad news, hopefully no fatal news, but that will and can happen.
Yeah, and it will slow things down. Yeah, just be prepared for that. Absolutely. When will Tesla hit 5 million deliveries?
Per year?
Mm-hmm.
To itself or to customers?
Either.
That's the main question. The question should actually be, when will Tesla build 5 million robots on wheels per year? Let's just be precise. And let me put that down to 2028.
Wow. 5 million total by then? Or just that 1 year?
No,
that
per
first
year.
5 million of Cybercabs or...
No, 5 million of robots on wheels. Obviously, the large majority will be Cybercabs and Model Ys. They may not even do Model S and Model X at that point anymore, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And I think 2028. But I have no clue. That is just me and my projections. But you know that I also, crazily enough, think that they can still, low probability, but not impossible, reach 20 million of production in 2030. I know you don't believe that, but just wait and see.
Mm-hmm. Cern?
I am just pulling up my model.
Cheating.
And I have it by 2028.
Oh.
Cern, I love you. I know you're already married and I'm already married, but
What's your guess, Xander?
I was going to guess 29. I think, we'd want to see all of those capacity of the existing factories go up, and then to get to 5, you'd need another one, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I think 26, we're going to be around, if we're lucky, 250 to 500,000. That's like at scale, right? So 27, that's when you get to, the next hit 1 million, you're not going to get to the 5 million. Now, that's just the Cybercabs. Now, if you add the other cars, still, I don't know. Yeah, I would
also
29.
add, though, to my answer that I don't think this matters. This particular number matters.
Why?
It doesn't really matter to me whether they're making 3 million or 5 million a year. It's
why
you put any number of vehicles in Robotaxi fleet, and the auto business is not relevant.
Well, we were talking. These are robots on wheels.
I'm just saying though, even if you're only making 4 million or something,
Yeah.
At some point, it's
You're still making huge bucks. Okay. Will margins improve in 2026? Alexandra, you're the queen of 2026. That's all you've ever been talking about for several years.
Now, I mean, you have to get much better with your questions, Herbert. We're not surprised you're doing a
Sorry.
sloppy job, but here we are.
Sloppy job.
I mean, Cern, what question is that? What are we talking about? Will car margins improve? Well, it depends. But will overall margins improve? Of course they will improve.
Overall margins,
especially second half of 2026. Because, I mean, if we're talking about service margins, of course. So, okay. It's all good to have your quick questions, but how about
be precise.
questions?
All right. It can take. You know what? Just to create the quick questions, I do quick. I just throw a bunch in. That's it. I don't.
Very, very quick. Yeah.
All right, and then we already answered your Tesla advertise. We did that in Q4 2025. Last question here.
That's
What's
not
the
a
question?
My God.
It's a statement.
You can take it wherever you guys want to go.
Shall we please inform everybody? We are forming a union.
No need for unions.
Herbert finally do his
I'm
job.
your servant. I'm not the boss. Okay, Q4 2025 is what are you guys expecting? Are you guys now okay, I know we ask a question every once in a while because I want to understand how things have changed now that we had a killer week, right? You had the board come in. We're going to have the November 6th vote that's going to happen. That will make a decision. We got the economy, right? What's happening with the risk on, risk off. We've got the Robotaxi expansion that's happening, and you've seen some new updates this week in terms of his confidence of what kind of FSD is going to come out. So unsupervised FSD all by the end of this year. Are you guys bullish on Q4?
I think Q3 is also should be mentioned because of the credit going away, and I think you're gonna pull forward demand, and then Q4 is historically. But I think we really want to see those interest rates actually start dropping, and that will be a determining factor for how Q4 goes. But statistically speaking, the end of the year is an up area of the market, right? This November, December, that's where a lot of movement happens if you're talking about the stock.
I wish I could say that Q4 would be the first quarter where Tesla sells more cars to its Robotaxi division than they sell to customers. But it's probably Q4 of 26, not 25.
No, that's next year. Yeah, for sure.
So what I'm excited about, I guess, for Q4 this year would be energy.
What I'm excited about for Q4 is if I get an invite to the shareholder meeting, that Herbert is paying for accommodation and doing a party. That's what I'm excited about.
Cyber Bulls party. You bet. We're going to go.
Right? What are we talking about? Something else. This is the only thing.
Yeah, we're looking to a Cyber Bulls penthouse, guys. We're going to try to get a good place November 6th, November 5th. We'll invite everybody. Come. We'll have
We're
a
going
big
to play the
giant party.
Dynasty music for the whole evening. No.
I had it ready and then it crashed.
No,
I don't have it ready.
Enough.
We'll play Dynasty music the whole time because we'll see what happens. Or we'll have to be wearing IKEA hats.
That's right.
We'll see. Thanks, everybody. That was fun. Lots of big news that happened this week, very important ones. So thanks for staying together with us. Thanks, Alexandra, Cern, and Xander.
Always
see you guys.
a pleasure.
Bye.
Thank you, Herbert.
Thanks.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.